go beat up the world, dude.
Growing up as a young kid in Hicktown, Pennsylvania during the early 2000s, there was never anything to do in town, and the few things there were often too expensive to do regularly. Usually weekend nights were spent alone, playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 on my PlayStation 2 for hours on end, grinding over and over again to try to get the villains to win on Mos Eisley Hero Assault. So anytime we got to go out and do something fun, I'd make sure to totally not think about anything else other than video games the entire time. My favorite was always the school-sponsored roller skating rink nights a few times a school year, where I'd go and bust my ass trying to turn on those four-wheeled stupid detectors and end up using all my quarters I've been saving to play some arcade games. I'd walk in and front and center, bam, the beauty that was the X-Men arcade game. And ever since, I've been on the hunt for the beat-em-up game that could replicate the same magic that X-Men held over me for all those years. Enter River City Girls. First off, I want to preface this by saying I am glad this game exists. Beat-em-up games are fucking awesome. It's unfortunate that they've had one foot in the grave for the last 20 years, but there are some dedicated devs out there working hard to keep them alive, and for that, I thank you. Sometimes it's hard to play video games. Sometimes I just want to mash the X button and still feel like I'm accomplishing something. I also realize that it's probably hard as shit to keep the beat-em-up genre alive. There's really only so much you can do with it. Slap new themes on them, add new characters, new moves, but change the formula too much and you have an entirely different genre. Respect to the devs who keep these games interesting. The first thing you notice when you load up River City Girls is that there is no online multiplayer. There is only couch co-op. On PC, this really isn't too bad. You just load up Parsec, which sucks anyway, but it's just a minor inconvenience, and you play. But on console, you're fucked. Okay, you think this seems like a non-issue, but think about the kind of people who are playing this game. Kids are not playing this game. The people who are playing this game are adults who played beat-em-ups in the 90s and 2000s. Looking for something to scratch that itch they've had since they were a kid, like me. These are the same kind of people. They're in their 20s or 30s. They do not have time to get together and sit on a couch and play a video game. These people have jobs, have families, and usually only have a couple hours in the evening at most for some games. They see that they can't play this game online with their friend, instead they hop into a Warzone lobby. It should be a written defined law that if a video game has co-op, it should be both local and online. No exceptions. You want beat-em-ups to survive? Keep up with the times, old man. Add the basic features to your game. So you load into the game, and you realize that this game is very charming. The animations and cutscenes are cool, presented in a manga style. The writing is great. Kyoko and Masako are sassy, and they have incredible voice acting to back it up. Even the side characters are voiced great, usually by YouTubers. The music is full of bangers and fits the tempo of the game. Good sound effects and visual flair. The in-game graphics are all pixelated, which isn't anything special anymore, but at least it's done well, and I appreciate that. On top of that, the moves are flashy and are directly taken from other fighting games and beat-em-ups. Side note, I'm not just talking about the typical moves, like Shoryuken and Lightning Kick. Even standard normals, like Guile's forward... That's hard to say, what the hell? Even standard normals, like Guile's forward fierce are in it. This really isn't much, but for a fighting game fan like yours truly, these are the little nods that make me smile. Every game has a DP, give me the cool shit like this. Even the UI is actually really clever. You pause the game and it pulls up a phone on one half of the screen where you can scroll through the smartphone-themed menu. If you're playing two players, both characters' phones appear and you can scroll through the menu independently of each other. Super clever, and the menu is surprisingly intuitive. No bitching about UI section today. So River City Girls is charming. It brought you into the game with its wit and humor. It's fun to experience and witness. But is it fun to play? That's where this game falls short. The more you play the game, the more the charm wears off and you're left with a frustrating experience that I can barely classify as fun. The first thing you need to know is that whether you realize it or not, every game you play sets itself a series of rules, guidelines, and consistencies that it follows throughout the entirety of the game. These are necessary because it is not enjoyable to play a game where the rules are constantly changing and ever inconsistent. You remember any game you would play in elementary school, and there was that one kid that had to win every single time and would throw a fit if they didn't? You had to play dodgeball with Sean, and you hit him square in the face with a satisfying thunk, only for him to get back up and tell you he has 9 more lives left, and you're stuck with 1. You didn't know this shit beforehand. Of course you're going to lose, and it's miserable. Sean isn't invited to your birthday party now, and if you didn't have a Sean, you were Sean. Playing River City Girls is like playing with Sean. Nothing in this game is consistent. You want to block a move? Sure, go for it, but only works sometimes. There is no way to tell if a move is unblockable or not. No visual cues, no sound effects, no nothing. Hitboxes only work when they want to work. On the X-axis, it's fine. Your moves are long and are very faithful to your character. However, as soon as a goon steps into the foreground or background, you will miss. There is no forgiveness on the Z-axis. It just makes missing moves frustrating when in reality you should be hitting all these attacks. You want experience? You get it sometimes, but not all the time. I'm not kidding about that. You can literally see yourself getting 0 XP. Turns out there's a level gating system that prevents you from getting XP from enemies until you reach certain story points, I guess to stop mindless grinding. They don't tell you any of this, by the way. I had to Google it to figure it out what was going on. I legitimately thought it was a bug. It doesn't make any sense. Why even put a level system if you're just going to cut them off after a bit of discrepancy? There's even inconsistency in the bosses themselves, since bosses seem to take less damage in their second phase? Huh? And then we get to the invincibility. And Jesus, this is where things go from bad to fucking worse. Invincibility only happens after you get back up after being knocked down. If you get launched, that means you're open to getting juggled. This isn't too bad, especially against lesser enemies, because you're getting punished more, getting hit in bigger groups. But then you get to certain bosses who have active frame moves. For those that are unfamiliar, this means that there is a hitbox on every frame of the move for the entire duration of the move. Oftentimes, this is applied to fire moves in most games. In River City Girls, these moves knock down, and they juggle for the entire duration of the move. And you don't get invincibility until you get back up after landing, which means as soon as you get hit by an active frame move, you instantly die. And get this, they are all unblockable. Luckily, only a few bosses have these moves, but these bosses are the most infuriatingly bad bosses in any game I've ever played. Especially Hibari. Fuck this bitch, by the way. It is not fun in any game to instantly die, especially when everything else takes so damn long to kill. River City Girls, the official game of putting out only on the first date. I want to go back to the X and Z axis bit real quick, because I want to talk a bit about the movement. You move slow as fucking bricks. But don't worry, Way Forward has given you a solution to the stupid ass problem they created by letting you sprint. If you double tap left or right, you will sprint and you can do moves out of the sprint. That's pretty cool, I guess, like getting an iTunes gift card in this day and age, but you can't sprint in every direction. You can sprint left and right and 45 degrees in either direction. But you cannot sprint up or down. You can only sidestep if you double tap up or down, which means moving up and down is way too goddamn slow. This doesn't make any sense. Either speed up the characters, period, or let you sprint in every direction, and let you sidestep in every direction. But how can we do that? Maybe, I don't fucking know, map sidestep to double tap in any direction. And map sprint to a trigger button, because bumpers and triggers do the exact same thing. That said, I can't come on the hot mic here and roast for however many minutes and pretend like this game was 100% terrible, because it's not. The game itself is well built and has some creative ideas, even though all those ideas come with a godforsaken asterisk. It works really well as the two-player game it was designed to be. The ideal way to play this game is to play with your friend or your roommate or your spouse in the same room and just mash buttons and have a good time. If you already have the Game Pass or something, you download it and beat it in an afternoon and you'll be happy. That said, the Steam listing of $30, that's a joke. Do not spend $30 on this game. Don't even spend half of that. If you want a better value beat 'em up, go get Castle Crashers. You can buy it from all the change in your couch cushions, and it's an objectively better game.